Welcome back to PreCalc, Lesson 2-3, looking at synthetic division. Synthetic division only works for factors of ax plus b, where a and b, a is a coefficient on x, and b is a number. So if you have x equals, right, I'd subtract b and divide by a, some fractional value. Notice it's not x squared or x cubed. So the factor or the divisor has to be, this factor right here, if we're looking at dividing by the factor, has to be of the first degree. If it's not a linear term, what this is basically saying is synthetic division is a shortcut for long division, but it only works for linear divisors or linear factors. Only works for linear factors. For linear divisors. So we have this example. When you synthetically divide where there's a coefficient before the x, you must divide the coefficient only by a. Or the quotient only. The quotient only by a. So we'll look at that and what that means in just a second. So we're going to do long division with this. Not long division, we're going to do synthetic division with this. This is a linear factor. This is a linear factor. Notice there is a coefficient. At the end, we're going to have to go back and divide the quotient by a, the value of 4 in this case. This is a linear factor. So we can use synthetic division for all of these. You did this in Algebra 2, but it's been a while. So what we do to do synthetic division is figure out what is the answer for x if this divisor is set equal to 0. So you set your divisor equal to 0, you get x equals 3. You put that 3 in the box. Next to the box, you put all of the coefficients and the constant from this expression. Right now I'm just checking to make sure there are no missing terms, because if there are, I have to put a 0 in for them. So now for this dividend, I'm going to put in 2, -4, -3, -6, -5, -8. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. I'm leaving some space and I'm putting a line. For synthetic division, the very first step is to just bring down this first coefficient. Everything down here gets multiplied by the number in the box and written up here. So 3 times 2 is 6. Then I add. I'm going to combine like terms vertically. That's going to give me 2. 3 times 2 is 6. I'm going to add. That's going to give me 3. 3 times 3 is 9. I'm going to add. That gives me 3. 3 times 3 is 9. I'm going to add. That gives me 4. 3 times 4 is 12. Going to add, that gives me 4. We divided by a linear factor, so we took out one, basically in the sense we're taking out one of these factors. If it is a factor, it's not, from this polynomial. So what we're going to get is a depressed polynomial. No, not that kind of depressed. It was x to the 5th, now it will be x to the 4th. So this last number that we get is actually going to be our remainder. The one before it will be the constant, then the x squared, counting in degree up as we need to go from right to left. So remainder, constant x squared, x cubed, x to the 4th. This gives us, all right, so this gives us 2x to the 4th plus 2x cubed plus 3x squared plus 3x plus 4 with a remainder of 4, so we have to put our remainder, we've got to remember to put our remainder over our divisor. And so there's our answer. Because there is a remainder, this is not a factor of this dividend. It did not go into it evenly. Just like 6 divided by 3 is 2, there's no remainder, but 7 divided by 3 is 2 with a remainder of 1 over 2, so 2.5. All right, let's look at this one. This one has this letter A that we have to be careful of. At the end, the quotient has to be divided by that number to give us the same thing we would have gotten if we had done long division. So right now we have x equals, I'm going to subtract 1 and divide by 4. So that's what I put in my box, negative 1/4. Oh, that'll be fun to multiply by. I don't have any terms missing, so that's helpful. So I have 8, 38, 5, 3, and 3. I'm going to bring down the 8, multiply it by negative 1/4. It gives me negative 2. When I add that together, I get 36. Multiply it by negative 1/4, I get negative 9. I'm going to add that together. That gives me negative 4 times negative 1/4 is positive 1. Going to combine those. That gives me 4 times negative 1/4 is negative 1. Going to combine those. It gives me 2. Since I have a remainder of 2, 4x plus 1 is not a factor of this polynomial. Now, this is our constant x squared, remainder constant x squared, x cubed, which is what I expect. I started with x to the 4th. If I'm dividing it by a linear factor, I'm going to get a depressed polynomial of 1 degree less. So, the problem is, though, there was this 4 here. Because of this 4, I have to divide all of these numbers by 4 before I bring them down for my final answer. Not the remainder, just the quotient itself. So this is going to be 2x cubed plus 9x squared minus x plus 1, and then plus our remainder over our divisor. And that's the same answer we would have gotten if we had done this with long division. 4x times 2x cubed is 8x to the 4th. 4x times 9x squared, right? And then you have to add the 1, so plus 1. Okay, so we can do all of that if we need to, but we can see that we're going to get the same thing back. All right, next, our last example. This is with x equals, or x minus 1, so that means x equals 1 is what goes in the box. The numbers from the dividend, no missing values, so I don't have to put a 0 in. That's helpful. You need to pay attention to that every time. Guaranteeing the practice, and on assessments you will have some. Bring down the 6. 6 times 1 is 6. Add it up. 4. Multiply by 1. 12. Add 3. 3, 0. Hey, look, this one's a factor. X minus 1 is a factor of this polynomial because it goes in evenly. There is a remainder of 0. Because I didn't have a value, coefficient on my linear factor, I don't need to divide these by anything. This is constant x squared, x cubed. I expected a depressed polynomial of x cubed since it started out as x to the 4th. This gives me 6x cubed plus 4x squared plus 12x plus 3. I don't have to write anything about a remainder because I don't have a remainder. In other words, that times x minus 1 equals this. But this is our answer right here, this part right here. Synthetic division, you saw how quickly I went through this one, is supposed to be a time saver when dividing by linear factors. The trick is to remember that you gotta set it equal to 0, the divisor, to get at what's in this box. You have to follow the process, and if there was a coefficient on your linear factor, when you get your answer, you have to divide all of those by that coefficient to get your final answer. It's supposed to save you time instead of having to constantly stop and think about 6x cubed divided by 3x, what's that? 9x squared divided by 3x, what's that? You just follow a quick procedure to get your answer a little more efficiently. This concludes the video on synthetic division. See you tomorrow.